Yeah, he's a sacrifice. He was ready to sacrifice for the good of the word. Hands down.
I think there's just a little, how do you maybe listen to a little bit more.
So do you do the emergency mill at any point you experience an emergency?
I think that whole 2 months has just been so confusing for so long.
And that is not tied to your identification as a NIMS entity, right?
Yes. You can do the emergency declaration and the funding.
Declaration of funding would have to be funded at the same time as the state budget is out.
Correct.
So you adopt that in the next city budget section.
So when the budget cycle came through, we would have to put those mills on there.
So if we adopted the resolution, choose all clients
Forever and ever.
and being applied period, and then at our next budget.
We could evaluate it, look at it if we wanted
Do
to.
that every budget cycle?
Add the 2 mills every time.
No, just have a base 2 mills.
No. It takes an official action and a declaration. Yes.
I hear what you're saying.
But we want to know that you can respond to loss.
It's only $18,000
Yep.
and let that grow, so it's a.
Because they were
We
saying
can't, we can't.
But it,
No, we
And
can't.
what?
We can't let it grow. It has to be used. It has to be used for an emergency at that time.
but even the
And we-
people just said.
That's how it is. We can't let it grow. We can't just declare 2 mills today, this next budget for what, forever and ever, next year. You could probably do it over 2 years if you have the expenses for 2 years.
How this really plays.
But we don't have the ability to mill every year.
You can't mill that every year and it's
Nope.
gonna grow.
Nope.
Even though they said that if you do not expend all of the funds, you can put it into an emergency account.
Yes,
Or later.
Have an emergency.
yeah, you have to have a declared emergency. So you have to have said, there's an official form that you submit saying, yes, there's an emergency. Now, you can declare an emergency and not go into the emergency response. So say like this weekend, we're looking into the next couple days, we know it's gonna snow, we know it's gonna do that. Likely that something could happen. You can pre-declare that as an emergency declaration, but then not really enter it. You've just kind of, you're able to put your
But
We're
resources.
not worried about that, we're worried about the funding.
We're asking if we
Yes.
Is
could,
that perpetual? Does it just keep going until we rescind it? Or do you do it one time and if you don't spend it, you're done?
One
Until
time,
you use it.
yeah, so it's each year, each calendar year, you can mill the 2 mills. So if you look at the MCA code, you can run those 2 mills each year. And if you've had an emergency, you will have spent more than $18,000, so there's no problem there. But if you milled it and you didn't spend it, or decided not to spend it because you end up getting out,
Put it in the
it
same-
goes in an emergency fund, then next year if something happens. But if later this year something happened, you don't have to re-mill.
Let's
Let's
just-
say
what-
nothing happens.
Nothing happens,
Yeah.
2 million goes in the savings account, can we continue to
you
collect?
can't mill it till you spend even that accrued money.
Right, so then the next time you would go to your bank first.
But I don't want to,
Yeah.
let's not go there.
Yeah.
Now we're at the next budget cycle.
Yeah.
Can we just continue to take that 2 mills?
No, but you have to have that emergency declaration in order to even run the 2 mills. And then it's not something that you can continually or perpetually do
Prior
unless,
to.
right, unless you have that emergency that
Later,
happens.
when we're not waiting for the meeting, somebody explain to me how the hell that makes sense. Because.
Well, it doesn't. That's the whole thing. It
makes no
doesn't.
sense.
It's complicated around the board, but
Yeah.
really what it does is it takes an emergency declaration to say,
To trigger and trigger, because it's a tax.
Okay, let's say the pledge,
Okay.
and then we'll get going, and maybe public comment can still. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call.
Commissioner Bueller,
Here.
Commissioner Day, Commissioner Hewitt,
Is she here on Zoom?
Commissioner Roops,
Here.
Commissioner Robertson,
Here.
Commissioner Speaka,
Here.
Commissioner Terry.
Here,
Thank
so
you.
we have both commissioners on Zoom?
No, only one.
Only Diane.
Only Diana.
Okay.
Commissioner Day is ill.
Okay, hello Diana.
Oh,
Okay, so, moving on.
hello?
Hello. We can hear you.
Okay.
Approval of the minutes, I did have some, couple of changes. One of the biggest things I wanted to point out. Sorry, let me just find my, so I'll get these to you, Nikki, but, on page four, at the bottom, adversary board, it's advisory board, right?
Oops.
That, I just wanted to make sure, I was like, I hate to have an adversary board, but.
Nope, it's advisory.
And then
You
the
are
rest of
correct.
these are just kind of typos. But that was the only one that actually like changed.
You
the
missed
tone Of what,
It's right above your other mark.
so.
I had a couple.
Pass that down to.
Thank you, I greatly appreciate it.
We gotta love having two librarians and a waiter.
I love it, it's great.
All right, so, those will be, approved with the changes that we just gave you. No courtesies, no proclamations, board and commission reports, Commissioner Speaka.
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Robertson, did you have anything?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Rubes?
Yeah, the Fergus County Lewistown Health Board met, they didn't have enough for a quorum, but we did have, I'm not sure if it was a Zoom or whatever, but we had the septic system, person there that kind of talked about some stuff in regard to, septic systems and things like that, but other than that, not much was talked about, but Holly probably remembers more than I do.
We did get an email as commissioners from Diane Rosier. Did you see that?
I didn't.
From who?
Diane DeRosier, I'm pretty sure it was from her. And she was talking about, in the health district, the difference between exempt wells and, septic systems, and how the exempt wells take away from the original water rights, like if it's an agriculture water right. So it was just an article she was sharing with the commission. Am I the only one that read that? Okay. And it was just an article saying that, you know, she kind of hoped that we didn't do that. However, for subdivisions, that's not something necessarily that the city does. It's something more that the county does on whether it's a well or, and how those water rights work. So I did not respond to her because I wasn't quite sure. But just, we did get a comment on that. Anything else, Ron? Commissioner,
Bueller.
how did the toy bowl go?
Chili Bowl went really well. I did not attend as I was at an 8-year-old's birthday party. But it was a very big night. It'll be interesting to see how that, event evolves in the next few years. Evolutions to come.
Commissioner Hewitt, did you have anything to report?
No, we meet Wednesday.
Okay. So the Central Montana Foundation met on the 28th, and lots of stuff going on. One of the things that we did a couple years ago, put in place, but now we're actually getting it, is they did a small administrative fee. We did it on the scholarships, because there's so many scholarships that are held within Central Montana Foundation, and then they just did this, it's half of a percent of something. It's very small, but it does bring in enough revenue
On the endowment.
just on the endowments. It brings in enough revenue, you know, to kind of offset some of those costs that we have of Yeah, well, the software and like Carrie's position and some of the administrative stuff, because, having such a large, I mean, it went from, with the help of Norm Osmondson, it's gone, it's increased $24 million in the last 2 years, and so, having that amount of money and one person running it all was just needed to be a little bit more, streamlined, so they hired a part-time person to, run a channel, and, so that's kind of one of the big things, but we're kind of seeing that, Wilson has been appointed to the board, for the spot that Carl Steelstead held for years and years. And, Bank of the Rockies is another partner, and Jeff Keller is their appointee, so those were, some new ones. And then, lots of permanent endowments have come in. We're getting just such a great return for those permanent endowments, that's been really good. Catalyst for Change is a, mental health awareness program, and also they respond on-site with social workers and stuff in Newton County. We gave them, $4,999 to continue some of the mental health issues that they, report to. And then, of course, the Fergus Junior Class After Prom Party, 3,500, that's an ongoing. And then the Friendship Lodge number 37 does a Books for Bikes each year, and that's a matching grant, and we gave $1,425 to them. So our next meeting is Tuesday, February 25th at 2 p.m. in, just a lot going on there. Lots of great. Anything else for board and boards? Okay, city manager.
Public Works continues to be busy. The weather has been interesting, and from sunshine to wind and sub-zero, so you never know what they're dealing with. For the past couple weeks, I've been reaching out to Republic Services to find out what their plan is to restore trash service to residents of Lewistown. And so we did have a conversation last week about kind of some options that they had. They worked with Public Works to place temporary containers in and around some of these areas that they still have limited access to alleys. And then they're also working with Public Works on opening up some of those areas, really identifying where the biggest concerns are. And we will plan on having a follow-up phone call sometime this week, hopefully. Notified by the Department of Commerce that Lewistown was recertified as a 2025 Main Street community. It's a great resource for communities across Montana. They provide education and resources, as well as some funding, some grant opportunities for participating communities. And so that's been a wonderful program we've participated in for many years. Dorothy Grumo will be retiring in March after serving over 25 years in dispatch. She's currently the dispatch supervisor and 911 coordinator. She's played a critical role in the consolidation of dispatch and our updated 911 system, as well as Zerker. And we do plan on filling that position internally. And so the police chief is working with an interview panel to fill that position right away. The hope is that we can work for the next couple months to train them. And she is on to new adventures, but not disappearing. So tell her congratulations if you see her. I am working on getting a tentative goals for the next year. I'd like to at least have some ideas. If any of you have some specific things, please let me know. Looking at taking tours of facilities. I know the wastewater plant is the top of the list. But I didn't think we wanted to trudge through deep snow and freezing temperatures, but that will be on the list. And doing some education, and then getting some of our boards in here to do presentations are on my agenda. But again, let me know if you would like to see something. And then this is the time that, we do a ton of training, and so we have people going, to different things to become certified, CDLs, things like that, and so just busy, busy. We will also be reaching out to the, local government center, thank you, to come in and do some training with you guys as well. So if there's anything that you guys would like to know more about, or have questions on, please let us know on that too.
On the Republic Services, I just have a question. Is there a way to get that out to the public? I mean, like, can we do a?
So I have encouraged them to do that. I know that the newspaper is wanting to know more. I have asked them to, work on a PSA to, because again, I mean, I didn't have a huge interruption in my trash service, no communication. And so on their website, I know there's an people have to do to get text messages and email. Again, I don't have my landline, which I'm sure what I would originally have put in there. We're gonna do some things to get the word out there, both in the media, newspaper and radio, and on their
Because
website.
I think it's important that it's Republic Services and not the city.
It's been very
One of
frustrating.
the phone calls I got, certain, they had not had their trash picked up all Christmas. And so, you know, I don't have the control of that.
Is there?
So I just was, if there's a way we can let the public know that they need to let Republic Services know that it's not.
Yeah, but we still don't, I would really prefer not that the city say anything on the city's site, because then they're gonna call the city. That's the problem.
What if it had
But I'm
something
just
like
saying the communication.
on the city's website, please call Republic Services for any trash?
I think as
You
a,
call Republic Services and you talk to Raul down in Arizona is the problem.
well, they have a new local number.
Oh, dude.
If you get on the website, they have a lot more information out there.
Okay.
And
I
I know today we did not have any phone calls today.
I wonder if we put that as, again, directing people to that website, directing people to where they can find good contact information, is the step that the city can do.
Which we have been when they call.
Is there any way to publicly notice that or put that on our website?
I mean, we can put it out there on the website. Just a little informational.
Exactly.
It's not, the
Garbage
city
is a function of
doesn't,
Republic
yeah,
Services.
It's a private contractor. But yes, I would say even most of last week, the majority of our phone calls were from the lack of trash pickup and, you know, customer complaints on that. And so we worked really hard, after not hearing anything from them for about a week, and hearing one of our office staff members go, ma'am, please stop cursing at me, I am trying to help you. And it was a call regarding garbage, or the lack of garbage service. I'm like, okay, please get a hold of me as soon as possible. And so, again, it has elevated it up. There was multiple parties from, for public service from this area, the whole Northwest. Supervisors were party to the call. And so I think that, they're really looking at what they can do. Hopefully.
We're off today.
And there is, you know, large dumpsters placed in strategic locations that they plan on servicing.
I will
twice a
call them
day.
and ask, but like, you know, in my neighborhood, the tree streets has not been picked up at all. I mean, they weren't, yeah, they didn't do,
But
they didn't do my street.
I was gonna say, they definitely.
Ash, cottonwood,
went
those,
up.
maple, cedar has not been picked up. So,
Have you had any
The
communication?
alleys are still full of
I
snow.
have, yeah, well, no, they're not, but the city didn't plow them, so I'm not sure, like, if the city doesn't plow it, they don't, because it was just like local people, but.
It's been very hit
I'll
and
call
miss.
and ask, because I was not sure, like, where to direct people, because I did, after the snow call stopped, I got garbage calls. So,
I get all their texts telling me every day, we're gonna not come again, so you can take it to the dump for free. So that's what we did.
Again, it's not for free, Katie. I also suggested.
Well,
you're still paying your bill.
Oh,
Put it in advance.
We had to drive it up there.
Yeah. Well, now there's one on 10th and Boulevard. That's the closest dumpster that I saw.
So they place large dumpsters around town.
Don't know where, that's just the one I happen to know. So hopefully that messaging gets out there.
Interesting.
I call, 'cause I'm curious. Like I said, they haven't been overrun.
Yes. And so our conversation was late morning on Friday. And so they haven't had a lot of time to respond. It's a very large organization. So they were looking at getting their communications team on board. Haven't heard anything.
Well, thanks for the report on that, because that was one thing I was gonna ask about today. Okay, anything else on the city manager report?
That's all I have.
Public comment on non-agenda items, so, would you like to ask Steve that question again on the mills, or do we just wanna, he's got it, all right.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
If you look at 10.3.401 through 405 on the MCA's, it's still legal language, but it kind of lays that out in a maybe an easier to understand. Although even people at the state don't always understand what
Once
that
we
means.
kind of have those conversations, we can explain it a little better once we try to move for that, so. Okay.
And I did send Holly the copy of that resolution, so.
Awesome.
Just so that I understand very quickly, you can't preemptively mill for an emergency, but you can mill for an emergency after a declaration.
The declaration must occur first. Yes.
So that is why we have to keep very good records of the emergency, because everything that we would then mill.
But you have, one question, you have to spend the amount of your mill before you can mill, correct?
No, you can mill if you have it in your emergency fund. So if you had taken emergency money before and not spent it and it goes in the emergency fund, that has to be spent before you can
Correct.
re-mill.
But in the case, like what she's talking about, let's say we had a flooding happen, or even the snow plowing, and the snow plowing costs us $10,000. That's all it's gonna cost us. And our mill's 18,000, 2 mills would be 18,000.
The surplus would stay in that account.
We can't mill until we've reached, I'm not talking about an account, I'm talking about no account, nothing, fresh off, first time declaring an emergency in 10 years. And we haven't spent 18,000, which is the max, our 2 mills, we can't mill until we've spent,
No, you could mill ahead of time if you declare the emergency.
even if it doesn't meet the maximum mill amount.
And then the money
Okay.
would be left over, so you
For
have
next
8,000
time.
left over, that would go into that account.
Okay.
Do we
Perfect.
have any money in the emergency fund anywhere?
No,
Do we have an emergency fund?
no,
But
We
there's no money
don't,
in it?
not an open account, but yes, we have the ability to create the fund.
But
yes,
right now,
we
we have
have
no
to.
money in an emergency fund anywhere.
No, when you mill, we have to create a fund.
But right now, today,
Mhm,
if
no.
there's no check, we can write out of any, like, there is no emergency fund right now.
Be your reserves.
We'd have to create it, but
It would be your reserves.
And an event like a 2-foot snow dropping of the sky,
Mhm.
is that something that we as the city would identify as an emergency to be able to mill come next
It's up to you
budget
guys,
cycle?
Yeah, ultimately, it's the commission.
Mhm.
In the past, it's been the tornado and the flooding.
Flooding, we didn't mill it,
2011.
we haven't milled, since, I'm thinking the tornado, we maybe did the flooding, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
Maybe
we
the
did in
2011 flood,
13.
like
Maybe
that
it
one.
was
Maybe
11.
then.
Because that was like the really bad one.
Then, but otherwise, our mills have not been enough to, that the commission in the past didn't feel that putting that on the
Taxpayers.
taxpayers was in the best interest.
So we'll say, so Hill County, you probably haven't paid attention, has had like 7 presidential declarations in the past few years, like over the past few. So they actually preemptively make an emergency declaration at the beginning of, let's say, a season that's ready to go, just the declaration. They haven't milled or anything, but they put the state on notice, hey, we're likely to have an emergency, so we're letting you know ahead of time that this will be ready to go to you if it does happen. You can run that declaration ahead of time, and then if nothing happens, you don't have to spend your mill, you haven't spent any money, that declaration just kind of goes away.
Okay.
But by doing the declaration, then that SERC, which is the State Emergency Resource, can focus to you and figure, oh, yeah, Hill County has this, maybe we should start pre-positioning some resources that they might need, to
They're
assist
on
them at
notice,
some point. So it just kind of helps that planning standpoint, because there's stuff all over the state, but literally Hill County's been millions of dollars of flood damage over these past few years. And so then the state started, okay, if you have a declaration, we're gonna shuffle a few pieces around so that if you do call us, it's more readily available than waiting for something to come from Dale.
And I would assume that a lot of it since 2011 has changed a lot too. I mean, things have happened since then that they've probably changed a lot.
And
that I
it's
don't
not
know.
a hard cost, it can be a soft match, so like the labor above and beyond their regular shift, equipment above and beyond regular shifts, things like that.
Well, even looking at the current expenditure of the city for the snow removal, I'm guessing we didn't have this budgeted.
We have it in the budget
Mm-hmm.
to do snow removal of,
To the extent that we are doing.
yeah, probably about that.
We could, as an example, declare emergency pending on the snow melt.
And that's
Yeah,
where,
furnace.
because that's the
Have
undefined
that
right
in
there.
place, don't levy any mills, just have that potential emergency or that emergency declaration in place. And then we're prepared to do that, and then by preemptively declaring the mill levy for $18,000 for the whole city, we're now eligible for state federal funding to a greater degree.
And
So
I would,
in the end, it's better for the taxpayers, potentially to have it in place at least.
and I wouldn't quote the 18,000 because I'm gonna hope and pray that our mill goes up.
Yeah, so in 23, it was like 15,000.
Yeah.
So that's the last published FEMA rates that I've seen, so I imagine it's gone up.
A little bit, not much, our mill rates, yeah. So I'm hoping it'll go up a lot.
And
So we
that
have
process
to
is
figure
where
it
you
out.
let me know, so if you do a declaration of emergency, then I would pass it to those guys at the state to get that going. That's where the role that we kind of play is that extra intermediary of information to be the contact with them. And it does come into play, so there is money available that's from the state that didn't used to exist. So the governor has started putting money into this resilience fund that wasn't always there. And so Missoula tapped into it when they had the windstorm, and Miles City got money from the windstorm. And then there was one other small flood that didn't affect anybody except for one particular county, but it was very expensive, and they were able to get money, not FEMA, but state money, because they run NIMS and ran the system and had that cost all in there. So there's no disadvantage to actually preemptively declaring the possible emergency.
So maybe that's something we need to think about once we have that adopted as well.
Especially,
With snowpack at 200%.
well, and even our water infrastructure in town, can it handle? Here it comes.
Yeah, because last May we had some issues.
We had some issues, and we want to make sure.
And then Holly, I'll send you what those pre-declared forms look like, and you can create your own based on what the city is, but what we use to, to do that, to give you a framework for.
Perfect. So that's a very smart move.
Consent agenda, acknowledgement of the claims that have been paid from January 18th to January 31st. Does anybody have any questions on those? Do you have any questions? Because there are some snow removal in here. So that-
Yeah, 50,000.
yeah. And that was hourly, right? Like, everybody kind of contracted hourly. Correct. What they used. Yeah. I would, entertain a motion to accept the claims.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. All those in favor of accepting the claims, please raise your right hand. Commissioner Hewitt, do you accept the claims?
Yes.
Thank you. Regular agenda, discussion and action on allowing city staff to submit the annual certified local government grant application to the State Historic Preservation Office and the authorization to enter into a grant agreement once the grant is approved. Holly?
Yes, so this is our annual grant with, the state of Montana Historic Preservation Office for our, preservation office. Again, it's a $6,000 grant, to help offset some of those program costs. They do still believe that there will be federal funding, to give out these grants, and so, that's what's for you tonight.
Just gotta keep on keeping on.
Exactly.
This is a great partnership. I serve on the Montana Preservation Historic Review Board, and we've done this for years and years and years. And
I move that we allow city staff to submit the annual certified local government grant application to the Montana State Historic Preservation Office and the authorization to enter into a grant agreement once the grant is approved.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Robertson, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. Is there any comments from the public? Any, comments from commissioners? All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, we're making the motion to allow city staff to submit an annual certified local government agreement application and authorizing the city manager to enter the agreement if it's approved. Commissioner Bueller,
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rubes,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Speaka,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry.
Aye. Okay, this is a no-brainer. Discussion and action on reappointing Shirley Barrett to the Historic Resources Commission for an additional 2-year term. I feel like she should just be appointed.
Lifetime appointment.
Lifetime
She's been there a long time, and I can tell you as somebody that regularly attends this meeting, she's a wealth of knowledge, and I think we're all trying to extract that knowledge from her.
I move that we reappoint Shirley Barrett to the Historic Resources Commission and for an additional 2-year term.
Second.
This is moved by Commissioner Robertson, seconded by Commissioner Bueller. Is there any comment from the public? Any other comments from commissioners? All right, let's do a roll call vote on her too.
Reappoint Shirley Barrett for a 2-year term. Commissioner Bueller,
Aye.
Commissioner Hewitt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rubes,
Aye.
Commissioner Robertson,
Aye.
Commissioner Speaka,
Aye.
Commissioner Terry.
Aye.
Thank you.
Citizens' requests? I feel like you've done enough. Do you want to talk about this letter real
Yes.
quick before we get into commissioner minutes?
So, included in your packet, or on your table in front of you, is, the response from PESHA on the city's behalf regarding the storm, violation. And so you can see there's kind of an implementation schedule, and that's really what I wanted to bring to your attention. Can you have one?
That's why she has so many. Oh, she's bringing one.
Yeah.
She's passing it down here.
So there is, an implementation schedule, so just pay attention, they will be doing some surveying and stuff like that. They will be doing presentations to the commission, and so we're evaluating, basically what method of, disposal of biosolids we'll be using in the future. And so they're going to work with us to prepare a technical memo, by March of '25, and then that will come back to you guys, so.
So they possibly present to the committee as a whole?
Yes, yep. Yeah, so once they have that information, they're gonna do some surveying and see what it's gonna take and stuff. There are some temporary measures, different things. I'm sure we'll get a response back from DEQ, and I will share that information with you.
There was a grant that came in for the wastewater treatment plant for electrical stuff, right? Is it a grant?
I didn't hear what she said, I'm sorry.
So, And the reason I'm asking this is kind of, so my son works for, Jason, Stoken. And, they're doing some work out there.
Probably
said it
as
was
part of
part of
the
the grant.
ARPA grant,
Okay.
our wastewater improvement.
Because they're also doing the one in Winnet too, and they said it was something to do with all wastewater treatment plants, but
I bet
they're wiring both of them,
Yeah.
so.
Our ARPA fund.
And they said it was part of the grant, so I was just curious where that money was coming from. And so that's separate from all of this.
Correct.
That's just kind of an update that the state gave through the ARPA funding to some of these wastewater treatment plants.
So we're using our guaranteed funds, that, you know, based on your size, the state gave out, and then we did get competitive grants too for that project.
And those are just kind of like updates on infrastructure grant, probably. Okay. I was just kind of curious. So.
I don't know who they all have working, but that could very well be.
Yeah. Yeah, they got both of them, so, and then, but they're redoing Stanford's too, so, like, but it must all be from that same funding, we just doing it all this summer. Yeah, just curious. All right, Commissioner's minute, Commissioner Bueller.
Before we move real quick, what is the acronym NOI?
Notice of improvement.
Thank you. Besides that, I have no minute.
I also passed out our final version of our Lewistown plan, so look it over. We're all very proud of it, and it took a lot of time and effort by many folks, so.
Commissioner Rubes, do you have a minute?
Just a question, how are we sitting funding-wise with the expense of snow removal?
So our snow removal, we will be pulling out of our gas tax allotment that we get every year. And so that's what we traditionally have funded snow removal. Previously, when we actually had winters, our average was close to $100,000 we were budgeting for snow removal. The last couple of years, I don't think we've actually used any. And so, we do have money set aside for that. And that's kind of, well, there isn't a snow plowing line in our budget. That's a line, a specific
It's a
fund,
line item.
or, yes,
It's
not.
It's not a line item.
But it's allowable expense under
Okay.
gas tax.
Do you have a rough estimate of what this costs?
I would guess, I mean, it's over $100,000. But,
Just looked at 50.
so far. Yeah, with.
Yes, go again.
That's February 3rd.
We've got 3 more contractors to pay.
Yeah. So right now, the contractors ended last week, and so, it's pretty much city response until further notice. And so, we can call them up at any point, we've locked in those hourly costs, but our staff is, you know, working on widening things and stuff like that.
So currently, what is the number of people that work in the streets? In
4.
4? And then what kind of machinery, trucks do we actually use?
So we have a pickup plow with sander, so that's a 1 ton. We have a large, dump truck style plow and sander unit. We have 2 road graders and 2 loaders, one with a big V plow. And then we have the loader that can have the snow blower attachment too, which is a different loader.
One sander.
There's sanders on the trucks, and we actually have one that sits on a truck that doesn't have a plow either.
And the second question was, our contracted, snow removal was with Griffith. Did they kind of coordinate all these other people?
No, so we put it out to bid, and remember, nobody put in for the bid. So we did not award it.
I thought we gave it to Griffith.
No, he didn't put in a bid this year.
But then he was contacted,
Several folks were contacted.
but contacted to remove the snow before the storm.
So anybody with a business license was asked if they could, come in and assist. And we actually picked up 2 other ones that, had some capacity and resources and came in. And so, we ended up working with 6 different contractors. All of those were coordinated with Public Works, not with like a prime contractor.
Who coordinated all that? Your office?
No, Public Works.
Public Works.
Public Works?
It was all after the storm, right?
That lady down
No, with the anticipation of the big storm, Bernie did reach out, and was coordinated with, Griffiths to actually come in that Monday to haul snow.
And that's what, I think that's what Ron is referring to, because I think that you had reported that at the city commission
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Before the
Anticipating,
storm.
and we had some snow already, so they were gonna
So-
haul.
So they were gonna remove snow, it
Okay.
just they hadn't put in for that bid, and
Okay.
then they were asked to do it, and they said yes.
So in the past 2 years, you know, we did get bids, but, unfortunately, fortunately, I don't know, it's whatever way you're looking at the event, we didn't need it. So we had no expenses because we didn't have storms that warranted bringing in a contractor, because we do have capacity internally to do, you know, we've got, a couple of trucks that we can haul snow ourselves and things like that. So if it's a smaller scale event, even, you know, to haul Juneau and Broadway and some of that stuff that we do, we don't necessarily have to bring in contractors for it.
But this would be one of those great things where the ICS would identify the resources available in the community, right? Like, if you're using 6 different contractors, just having those, that information, like, yeah, we could call all these people.
Yeah, and we do have those internal plans anyway, like, it's not necessarily in Steve's hot little hand, but we have, you know, the, dam plans and things like that.
Oh, the damn plans.
That identifies those exact, what your resources are, what current contacts are for.
Any other questions, commissioners?
No, I'm done, thank you. More on the after action for Snowzilla 2025.
Ooh, I like
Snowmageddon, I thought.
What
I
is
like
it?
Snowzilla.
Snowmageddon is what I saw.
All right. I have had a number of questions, and, I think I've, consolidated them in my mind to be revolving around what the city's cleanup, goals and expectations should be. And so it's not a criticism, it's as a citizen that I run into and they say, when's my street gonna be plowed? I still haven't had it plowed. I feel a need to be able to say, well, the expectation is that within X number of days after a big snow event, you should be plowed out. And so my response is, I'll find out what that expectation is, if we have an expectation, or if it's when we get at it, and so I just think that, again, I think we should use the opportunity to do an after-action review and set expectations if we don't have them, so that we can at least communicate with the public on, we would normally have had every street hit by a plow within X days, but here we're gonna be on Y days, something like that.
And we do have a snow plowing policy that, has been in place for a long, long time, has seen some revisions and stuff like that, so we can definitely share that.
We could look at that, yeah. I've also heard a lot of discussion about, buried cars and people needing to move buried cars, and how do we get them to do that? And I have simply thrown out the idea that maybe we need an official snow emergency declaration in the city at times, and when that happens, you must move your car within 24 hours to the correct side of the street. It must be on that side of the street, and that could go on for a week until all the streets are plowed, or something of that nature. That has surprisingly had no resistance. Now, maybe it's the neighborhoods that I just talk to people with. But
think
as
they
I've
want
driven
to
up and
see a
down
plow.
the streets, what's that?
They want to see a plow.
As I've driven up and down the streets, yeah, there are still streets where cars are buried, there's this much snow. There's really no good solution except the sun to come out for a long period of time. Unless we have a policy that says you have to move your car, you're gonna get tickets, and then people get motivated to move it. I've also had people suggest they'd be willing to be on temporary crews if they could be trained and work, and they're equipment operators who said, I'd be on a temporary crew. And then lastly, just want to relate that I know this is beyond a minute, the airport found itself probably 6 or 7 years ago, maybe, when I was first on the board, short of good modern equipment. Just didn't have anything that was made since I was born. And I was born in the 60s. And what we did to change that, the primary thing we did is not spend FAA money on that, but we got excess equipment through DoD handout programs and had some phenomenal excess equipment from DoD handout programs. Ross Butcher somehow tapped into some website that had it, and we just had to go pick it up. And we picked up a $1 million snow blower from Bozeman. And have used it, the heck out of it. It's put to work a lot.
Did you say DOD or MDT?
DoD, Department of Defense, which gets a lot of big snow equipment for all these mounts from other places. And then after X number of years, they say, well, enough of that, and it goes away, and it's still perfectly good. So just throwing that up. Ideas.
Do you think we need more equipment?
We have more equipment than we have operators, even if, which, again, we pull other resources from the various departments too, so it's not just confined to those 4 street operators. In this snow event, it was more impactful for us to get out there and plow things and, you know, kind of spread out to those contractors. It worked really well. And so we were able to do that very effectively, I think, with the staff we have.
Although if we still don't have city streets plowed 3 weeks later, we are lost, right? We got a lot of PO people to this day that are not happy that their street hasn't been done. So
is it?
I hear what you're saying. I'm not criticizing. I'm saying I think you got to look at the expectation of we should be able to plow up in 5 days, be done. Maybe we can't move everything, but everybody can get up and down every street.
That would be the question. I guess I don't know the policy. Is it the policy of the city to plow every street in town?
I think the expectation was in the snow plowing policy that within probably 2 weeks, most things were touched. Again, it is the practicality of how do you get down a street when there's cars parked on both sides with larger equipment and things like that. And so, really
I was coming
looking
down Fifth to get to this meeting tonight, and it's one-lane traffic, because people who aren't, I mean, their vehicle are perfectly fine, they're parking like this, but they can't park any closer to their homes,
And
it's
that's
one-lane traffic from the stop, the 4-way stop, to the civic center, it's one-lane traffic. It's like 2 blocks.
It's because the city can't get curb to curb right now.
Yeah.
and so that's what they're really focused on now, is widening that.
So what I'm suggesting is if we bit the bullet and ticked off a few people and said, we're at a snow emergency, you're going to move your car,
Or
we'll move it for you,
yeah.
or we'll move it for you, we'll have it towed. I've seen it done many times, had it done to my car, more than once, as a teenager, because I didn't get out of bed and go move my car in a snow emergency. And then the plows come through at night and go to one side, and the next night they hit the other side. And it's the whole, I lived in a city much bigger than this, and we did it every night.
In
2 days, every street was
I
clear.
don't think it would make a lot of people mad right now. I think it would make
Right
a
now,
lot of sense to do
right
it
now. But apparently this was in place back in the 80s, and it
No.
lasted less than 1 season.
I have no idea.
And I say we do it
Kevin
again.
Myrie said it was in place at one point, and it lasted, he thinks, less than a season before people got tired of that, because it was an everyday move your car. Now, I'm just talking about a snow emergency where we declare it, publicize it with the daylights out of it, let everybody know we're gonna do this, and then,
Is there do you see that being implemented with a time frame or a length?
yeah, I think
You have
this is just
2
one idea is, hey folks, as of today, there's a snow emergency for the next 6 nights. cars will be on the same side of the street as.
And so I can tell you
as
what
the date.
Bozeman is doing, because I actually printed it out. And here's their fancy little dashboard too. But basically they are doing, a pilot program that they've dubbed it. So they have on their website, and it's right on the City of Bozeman's website, you can see it, and it's odds and evens. So, in this area, you know, it's this little highlighted area that they say, no, your group B, or whatever it is, and your day is like Tuesday. So, on this Tuesday, you need to be on the odd side, which is the odd house numbers, and on, you know, this day, you need to be on the even. So it's only on Tuesdays that this area has to focus on moving, because that's the only time that they're scheduled to get plowed.
My question is, do we have enough manpower plus machinery to actually plow out the entire town?
Could we break it up into 5 quadrants? Those maps already exist.
So if you saw that, and we have another big snow experience, then obviously snow routes are priority one, but then you basically say, all right, neighborhood
Monday,
section,
Tuesday,
areas
Wednesday.
of town, you get this one, we're gonna go here, go here, go here, and move through that more systematically. What do you do with the system that's currently in place that if you call and complain, you get moved to another?
I don't think that really goes away, right?
And I think, Gary, I agree with your concerns. I think we would need to create a little working committee and go to committee with it and have some thoughts and get some responses and do some hearings to find out what people think. But having owned a bunch of motor patrols or graders, you can cover a lot of ground very quickly if you're unobstructed. And if you're a good operator,
It's just
you
when you
could
get
hit the
obstructed.
whole city in a night with 2 motor graders if there's not obstruction on those streets. You can go 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour down the street, cover a lot of ground in the evening. Just going up and down streets, and over the course of 2 or 3 nights, you'd hit every street in town. And you push it right into their driveway and on their sidewalk. That's the life of living in the north, right? But people learn to dig out, and I'm sorry, but at least the street's clear, right down to the asphalt.
And my concern, like, what I see is if we implement this strategy, love the odds, even if it's a great idea. Quadrants, odds, evens, all of it, pile it on in. If the city is not capable of fulfilling that expectation, that is when people become very frustrated. Because, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm in quadrant Z.
And you've moved it.
And I've moved my car and nothing happened. And now I have to wait until next Tuesday to see if they get back to me.
I like the idea of a working group. Let's break up into a committee and really explore. The pilot program, that was the first one, and I was like, ooh, that's a good way to try it. Who knows if we get a substantial snow, because I believe that it says we don't break up and, you know, send plows into residential areas if the accumulation is less than 6 inches. I mean, there's a threshold. You're not just plowing 2 inches of snow, and burning it up all the time and implementing that. So, I mean, you could have a threshold that is a measurable threshold too, that would put people on notice that now we're under a plowing emergency, and so here's what we're asking you to do.
Yep. And I think if the faster we do it, the more, positive it will be received.
Well, the pilot project could then shape ordinance to come.
So I wonder if we pull through the 3 wards, just because then kind of cover
A broad group.
a broad group. But you guys are in the same one. I'm assuming you want to be on the committee.
I can be, I don't need to, I'm just.
What do you think?
I don't disagree at all. I think of my neighbor next door, whose husband just died and has been out of her house this whole time. And they're getting ticketed because their car's parked, you know, and their 2 cars, so I don't know how you deal with that.
Is she able to, is she can't leave?
She wasn't even here.
Oh,
Yeah.
That might be.
It it is a non-individualized or personalized system, it's true. And that is the hardest part of it.
I would just say,
Would
I've
you
seen
wanna
it
be
done
on
for
the
50
committee?
years in the town I grew up in. Works just great. Everybody's gotten used to it, works great.
Well, you know, our leaf pickup stuff seems to
Exactly.
work. We publish that in the newspaper, people look for it. I mean, it's probably gonna take a couple years, but
I think if you stick with it,
Yeah.
if you're able to be
Because the leaf-
consistent
Keep it
and
really simple.
And if you keep it consistent and the city is able to meet its own expectations, that's a win-win for everyone. Again, it's like coming back to the same garbage question. We don't pick up the garbage, sorry, but a lot of people have the idea that we do. That's where the friction comes.
Katie, do you wanna be on the committee?
If,
That's something.
if Lorraine was more interested, I would sure give her first go.
Let's, I don't wanna push off the working committee until the next commission meeting, but I'm just thinking that like this LEPC meeting and stuff, the after action plan, but could you organize all of your plowing stuff in the sense that, you can ask Lorraine, Tim, do you wanna be on the committee? Plowing committee?
Don't bring a shovel.
I'm just asking, yeah.
Yeah, I just plowed my, I got myself out. Within 24 hours, I couldn't move my buoy.
Yeah.
If you're gonna say, hey, you gotta move your car over here, they're gonna have to hire a tow truck to do that, and spend a whole bunch of money.
Well,
And yet, they're complaining about too much snow. So, you know, I like win-win situations, not lose-lose.
Not a gambler, you're not a gambler?
I don't bet on slow horses, I'll tell you that. But anyway.
Well, do you wanna lead this little working committee and? You're not on the board, you don't need to be.
I'll be, what's Holly then?
Yeah, let's start there, and then we'll ask Lorraine, I mean, I don't mind being on the committee, I was just thinking like the wards might be a little,
A little overloaded, please.
Yeah.
I'll be up.
alright. Well, let's have you two meet, and then at least she can show you what the plan is right now. Cause we could even do this as a committee as a whole too.
Yeah.
Like, if you
But
guys
again,
kinda came up with an idea.
I think it's important we address it sooner rather than later.
Well, that's what if you guys can look over the plans that are currently in place. And then
An opportunity.
we're always a little some sort of. All right,
And again, that could be just a committee of the whole discussion and then action during the meeting.
Well, and we could pick a pilot area and take action at that.
can you guys two meet and maybe, when are our next meeting?
So we
It's on
actually had a
Tuesday.
plan to get together tomorrow to visit on a couple of other
It's on
things.
Tuesday,
so- Yes, it's the 17th or 18th.
It's the 18th, so our next city commission meeting
yeah.
is the
They had to move it to a Tuesday, cause I've got a doctor's appointment Monday.
He's a funny guy too, doesn't bet on slow
I do.
horses. Well, let's have you guys talk and
All right.
then we can decide
As a
if we
group,
wanna
we'll
do it
reach out.
as a committee of the whole on the 18th, but maybe let's kind of keep this momentum, this discussion up.
That's not a joke, our meeting really is on the 18th.
For real.
Yeah, it's really on the 18th.
It's not a joke.
The 17th is President's Day.
It would be a terrible joke.
It's President's Day and also Ron's doctor's.
Yes, though it wasn't because of Ron. Doctor's
But
It was.
Yeah, do it during the committee of the whole
Yeah.
meeting. Would be good.
So if we can kind of have some guidance on that. Okay, great. Commissioner Hewitt, do you have a minute or anything you'd like to say? Or should I?
Present.
Okay. All right. Commissioner, Stevens, do you have anything? While you guys are talking about all that, where are we at on public works? I mean, I think now this is, not that anyone's gonna step up after we've had a historic snowstorm,
So
but
funny. So we're actually, in communications with someone on the position now, so.
okay, good.
Unfortunately, they, live out of state, and so, we'll have to coordinate travel and stuff like that. They would have to actually physically come and do an interview as well.
Is this an individual who's ever been to Lewistown?
Are we still actively recruiting? I mean, we're still out
That
there
was kind of my question.
advertising, recruiting,
Yep.
and
Do you get, interest often, or is it?
It's periodic. I mean, I would say the last time we saw really much interest was probably fall.
I got like 3 phone calls, they would have been great candidates and never heard any, I sent them everything and never heard anything from them.
And we are advertising primarily on the website, other.
It's posted on the website, but we have,
Indeed or any of those, is it on any of those?
we did have it on Indeed for a bit. Right now, it's not really anywhere. In the past, we had it on the league site and several other different, like free industry type sites.
seems like we're almost to the point of hiring a recruiter, which I hate the idea of.
We've tossed that about, yeah. And then you get something like this out of the blue, a prospect, so. But we get a lot of phone calls that never go anywhere either.
Do they say why?
They never call back, so I have no idea why.
Do we
Sometimes
pay
it's,
comparably to what a person would expect?
sometimes it's, spouse, they're wanting to relocate here to be closer to family, things like that. And then they just kind of drop off the radar.
Maybe we just need to look at that again as far as, we'll see how this candidate, but putting it back on the league and.
Well, we've looked at the recruiter and what options we have to, started to explore that more, in the last month or so.
Great. All right, anything else for the good of the order? We are adjourned. Thank you.